you don't have good cash flow, your business is not going to last much longer. In this video, I'm going to talk about 10 ways to get either your cash flow back on track or to continue to keep your cash flow on track for the future. Let's start diving in. First and foremost, stop, breathe, and assess. This is probably the most important step. And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, right. I can guarantee you, if you just stopped for a half a morning, closed your door, go through all of your expenses, of which some we're going to talk about in this video, and you just took a couple of hours to just really understand all the different components of the day-to-day operations and how money moves in and out of each of those departments, and you start writing and making a list of all those different components, I can guarantee you, if you do this every couple of months, you'll find many ways to decrease your expenses and increase payment terms and also how you receive cash. This is a very chaotic business. Everybody's moving really, really fast, including owners, especially who are in the smaller stages where they're still wearing many hats. You gotta just stop every couple of months, breathe, and assess the situation. Next, good payment terms. Everybody thinks that you need 30-day payment terms, which is typical in the business. I can tell you firsthand, I ran a project when I was out in the field. Each week, I was billing $3 million. I had 100 union people working under me. $3 million per week. That particular project, the agency, was a public works project. The agency allowed us to bill bi-weekly. So every 14 days, we were allowed to submit a pay requisition versus the typical net 30. I know plenty of contractors who are really small, and they actually tell the GCs who are, so they're specialized in a specific niche. The GCs know that they need them. So part of their payment terms is, you're going to pick up my payroll for a certain amount of months, or maybe you're going to pick up my payroll. So the GC's picking up the payroll of the subcontractor for the entire duration of the job. And at some point when the subcontractor starts cash flowing, which they work together to determine that, then from there, the subcontractor starts paying back the GC, or they start deducting on future payments the cost of that payroll that the GC put up. The GC needed that particular subcontract. I'm just giving you an example. There's many ways you can go about your payment terms rather than just sticking to the traditional net 30. You also need to be working for good GCs who have the funds, who can pay their subcontractors. I know on public works, GCs need to show proof that they're paying their contractors, and I believe even the vendors, after a certain amount of days, or else the GCs start getting penalized and they can get in trouble, especially if it's a minority company who is not getting paid. So don't think that you're stuck with net 30 on every single one of your projects. Mobilization money. Just like how a residential contractor asks for money up front to buy materials, if you're in the heavy civil space, especially if you're in the public workspace, or if you're in commercial, you should be entitled to mobilization money. You need money to get your equipment on the project. You need money to start buying that initial load or two of material to get your projects moving, or to get your crews moving. You should be entitled to mobilization money. Don't be embarrassed to ask for it. Okay, if you're a multi-million-dollar project, if you're on a multi-million-dollar project and your scope is a few $1 million, you should be getting a couple % for mobilization. Next, reduce waste. I can't tell you how many contractors start buying material several months in advance. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see all that material sitting on the job site many months in advance, but I'll tell you this, if you're in a bad area, you're probably going to get a bunch of junkies who are going to steal that material, resell it, or get some scrap steel. A piece of equipment is going to run over your material. That material is going to start walking away from you somehow, some way, because that large bundle you had now is reduced to a quarter of a bundle. And not even that, you're just buying thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars worth of of material many months before you need it. I'm not saying to buy material on the day or get it delivered on the morning that you need that material, but buy the material a couple of days in advance. Most vendors, and within a day or two, start delivering your material, as long as they're a large enough vendor. So don't buy a lot of material too far in advance. This is where good schedules, and I talk about it all the time, good 2-week and 4-week look-ahead schedules really come into play, is when you need to start ordering your material. Next, reduce recurring expenses. Nowadays, there's resources and there's agencies out there who dive into all of your different expenses, all of your different debts that you have, and they start analyzing the interest rates you have. They start asking you for your water cooler expenses. They dive into every single expense you possibly have. You'll be surprised how much money you're spending on software that's recurring that you're not even using. You'll be surprised on why your insurance rates are 10-15% beyond where they should be. Right? A lot of people get really comfortable with insurance and bond and so on, and they don't shop around for insurance rates. You should be shopping around. And there are companies out there who actually help you with this as well. In addition, you could do your own research and due diligence as well. So you'll be surprised how much money you can save by reducing recurrent expenses that you forgot about. Even magazines. I know a contractor who was spending $10,000 a month on magazines. You think anybody was reading $10,000 a month on magazines? You'll be surprised the stupid costs you'll find. And every couple of months, you should be assessing those recurring expenses. Number 6, very obvious, increase your field productions. If you're a commercial GC and you're subbing all your work, this may not be a big topic for you, but if you're a labor-intensive contractor, increase productions. I have tons of videos, tons of articles about this. Go on my website, www.pro-accel.com, and under my free resources, you'll see plenty of articles and videos on how to increase your productions. You need to really understand what jobs you're bidding. First of all, you need to be bidding jobs that are aligned with your strengths. You need to understand your resources and the people you have to run those types of projects so you can get better productions. And then also you need to be clear on the expectations. As an owner, as a project manager, as a super, whatever leadership role you're in, how are you giving the expectations to your foreman and your field crew? Do they actually know what they're supposed to be doing every single week? 50% would probably say no or in denial. I can guarantee you this, is that foremen need a lot more information than what you're actually giving them to understand what their expectations need to be. When they understand their expectations, I can guarantee you the productions are going to get a lot better. If you're a labor-intensive contractor, all you need to do is increase your productions by a couple percent, and you're going to see a ton more money in profits. Next, perfect your invoicing. You got to really, really understand. You got to be really on top of your invoicing. Again, I know several contractors who say that vendors don't send their invoices to them after 3, 4, 5 months. You got to be really good in accounting. You got to be really good in your accounts payable and your accounts receivable. I have several other videos about this on what stages you should be hiring a part-time and then eventually a full-time bookkeeper, a controller, then eventually a CFO. They will really help with your invoicing. You got to be on top of your invoicing. Net 30, net 14. Hopefully you got nothing that's net 45 and net 90, but you got to be really good with your invoicing. A lot of contractors are suffering on this, especially in their beginning stages. Next, number 8, know what you need to get paid. If you're a subcontractor, do not rely on the GC, the owner, to know what you're supposed to be getting paid every single month. You need to understand, you need to log every single day, every single week, the amount of work you're doing and what unit cost is associated for you to understand what to bill at the end of the month. It's not a bad idea to overbill every single month and then get slapped in the wrist a little bit and get paid a little bit less. You are the little guy, right? You are the subcontractor compared to the GC with the big pockets. A lot of GCs aren't going to pay you until they get paid as well. Now, if you're in public works, you're probably bidding a lot of unit price work, which is a lot easier. So what's your process of tracking those units that you're putting in every single day, every single week? And how are you agreeing with the inspectors on those quantities every single day, every single week, and then eventually every single month? If you're bidding on lump sum work, what is the lump sum breakdown? What does the schedule look like? Going back to good payment terms, are you negotiating a good payment term for your lump sum project, right? You want to be able to get good cash flow up front. You don't want to wait till the very end to get all your money. Unfortunately, every contractor's got to deal with retainage. There's 5% retainage, there's 10% retainage, which is more typical. That's terrible. That's pretty much all your entire profits. So you got to get really, really good on knowing what you're supposed to be getting paid every single month and not waiting too long to invoice. I know a contractor who was completely waiting for the GCs to tell him how much he was supposed to be getting paid. And guess what? He's pretty much going to be going bankrupt any day now. It's terrible. So understand know what you're installing every single month and bill for it. Who's checking your estimates? Of course, a lot of this goes back to estimating. I've estimated over $10 billion of my own work as a senior estimator. You know, there's a saying that when you don't win a job, everybody asks you why you're so expensive. Then when you win a job, everybody asks you, would you leave out or would you forget, right? So estimators are always getting slapped in the face. Someone needs to double check estimates as well. A lot of people get too comfortable with allowing one person to just take a unit price and extend that unit price for every single job. Every job has got a different personality. It's got different characteristics. It's got different means of egress. It's got different logistics. It's got different owners. It's got different specs. You can't just plug unit prices. You need real estimators, which is really tough to find. I know, I get it, but there's options out there. You got to really understand your estimates, and if your estimates and the budgets actually reflect the resources and what your strengths are. Are you actually able to meet those budgets? Are you able to get those budgets? Did you assess risk properly? Do you have the correct insurance rates in? Do you have the correct workman's comp rates in there? What are the risks that I just briefly mentioned before that you need to incorporate in each and every single project to make sure your estimates are good? I don't care how good your field crew is. If your estimates are busted, then you're not going to make money out in the field. And I don't care how good your estimators are. If your field crew is garbage, you're not going to make money either. So one hand washes the other, and they need to be in sync. All right, estimating and project management need to always have synergy. Last, what's your change order process look like? I know quite a bit of auditors, and they tell me that the number one reason why contractors lose profits and lose their shirts on projects is because they suck at change orders. They're terrible, terrible. Personally, based on my experience out in the field, what I've seen is a lot of people are just lazy. A lot of people know that they're doing work beyond the plans and specifications, but they're just too lazy to track change orders. Or they'll wait several months after the work is complete without having anything in writing that they should have done that work to say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm putting together a change order. No, when you see a change order, one, you need to be able to identify it. Again, I have more videos and I have more articles on the free resources on my website, www.pro-accel.com. How to identify a change order and the process to go through the entire change order, submit that change order and get it signed off every single day that you're performing the change order, and submit it as soon as possible while it's still fresh in everybody's minds. I heard a story once. It was a couple $1 billion project, and I got a little friendly with one of the inspectors, and they told me that at the end of the job, this joint venture company submitted $100 million worth of change orders 4 years after they started the project. Guess what happens? It went to court. I think they ended up getting paid about $10 million. They had to swallow $90 million of lost, what they felt was lost change orders. I don't care if you're $1 million a year company or $1 billion a year company, you better get really good on your change order process. So guys, if you like this video, please like it. I would love to hear your comments. Please subscribe to this video. I have tons of free resources on my website, www.pro-accel.com. Talk to you soon.